Alright, let's open the meeting. Open the meeting with a moment of silence. Please use it as you wish. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength, and hope with one another, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contribution. AA is not aligned with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics achieve sobriety. Welcome to the regular Tuesday night step meeting. This is an hour and a half meeting. We start by going around the room, each reading 1 or 2 paragraphs. We first read the step, then the tradition. We will then take a short break. After the break, we will go around the room and discuss the step. Please limit your discussion to 3 to 5 minutes so that everyone has a chance to share without going past 8:30. Please limit your discussion to the step in the tradition. Please respect the speaker and refrain from crosstalk. We will have the collection after the last speaker and close the meeting with the Lord's Prayer. So we are on first step. Step 1. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives have become unmanageable. Who cares to admit complete defeat? Practically no one, of course. Every natural instinct cries out against the idea of personal powerlessness. It is truly awful to admit that, glass in hand, we have wrapped our minds into such an obsession for destruction, a destructive behavior, drinking, that only an act of providence can remove it from us. No other kind of bankruptcy is like this one. Alcohol now become the bunch's creditor, bleeders of self-sufficiency, and all will to resist its demands. Once this Shrek fact is accepted, our bankruptcy as going to human concerns is complete. But upon entering AA, we soon take quite another view of this absolute humiliation. We perceive that only through utter defeat are we able to take our first step towards liberation and strength. Our missions of personal powerlessness finally turn out to be firm bedrock upon which happy and purposeful lives may be built. We know that little good could come to any alcoholic who joins AA unless he has first accepted his devastating weaknesses and all its consequences, until he so humbles himself. His sobriety, if any, will be precarious. Of real happiness he will find none at all. Proved beyond doubt by an immense experience, this is one of the facts of AA life. The principle that we shall find no enduring strength until we first admit complete defeat is the main taproot from which our whole society has sprung and flowered past.
Richie, alcoholic.
Hey, Richie.
When first challenged to admit defeat, most of us revolted. We had approached AA expecting to be taught self-confidence. Then we had been told that so far as alcohol is concerned, self-confidence was no good whatever. In fact, it was a total liability. Our sponsors declared that we were the victims of a mental obsession so subtly powerful that no amount of human willpower could break it. There was, they said, no such thing as the personal conquest of this compulsion by the unaided will. Relentlessly deepening our dilemma, our sponsors pointed out our increasing sensitivity to alcohol, analogy they called it. The tyrant alcohol wielded a double-edged sword over us. First, we were smitten by an insane urge that condemned us to go on drinking, and then by analogy of the body that ensured we would ultimately destroy ourselves in the process. Few indeed were those who we assailed had ever won through through in single-handed combat. It was a statistical fact that alcoholics almost never recovered on their own resources, and this had been true, apparently, ever since men had first crushed grapes. In AA's pioneering telling, none but the most desperate cases could swallow and digest this unpalatable truth. Even these last gaspers often had difficulty in realizing how hopeless they actually were. But a few did, and when these laid hold of AA principles with all the fervor with which the drowning seized life preservers, they almost invariably got well. That is why the first edition of the book Alcoholics Anonymous, published when our membership was small, dealt with low bottom cases only. Many less desperate alcoholics tried AA but did not succeed because they could not make the admission of hopelessness. It is a tremendous satisfaction to record that in the following years this changed. Alcoholics who still had their health, their families, their jobs, even 2 cars in the garage, began to recognize their alcoholism. As this trend grew, they were joined by young people who were scarcely more than potential alcoholics. They were spared that last 10 or 15 years of literal hell the rest of us had gone through. Since step 1 requires an admission that our lives had become unmanageable, how could people such as these take this step? It was obviously necessary to raise the bottom the rest of us had hit to the point where it would hit them. By going back in our own drinking histories, we could show that years before we realized that we were out of control, that our drinking even then was no mere habit, that it was indeed the beginning of a fatal progression. To the doubters, we could say, perhaps you're not an alcoholic after all. Why don't you try some more controlled drinking? Bearing in mind, meanwhile, what we have told you about alcoholism. This attitude brought immediate and practical results. It was then discovered that when one alcoholic had planted in the mind of another the true nature of his malady, that person could never be the same again. Following every spree, he would say to himself, maybe those AAs were right. After a few such experiences, often years before the onset of extreme difficulties, he would return to us convinced he had hit bottom as truly as any of us. John Barleycorn himself had become our best advocate. Yes.
Rob Alcoholic. Why all this insistence that every AA must hit rock bottom first? The answer that few people will sincerely try to practice the AA program unless they have hit bottom. For practicing AA, we mean in 11 steps means the adaptation of attitudes and actions that almost no alcoholic who is still drinking can dream of taking. Who wishes to be rigorously honest and tolerant? Who wants to confess as false to another and make restitution from harm done? Who cares anything about a higher power, let alone meditation and prayer? Who wants sacrifice time and energy in trying to carry AA's message to the next sufferer? No, the average alcoholic, self-centered, and the extreme doesn't care for this prospect unless he has to do these things in order to stay alive himself. Under the lies of alcoholism, we are driven to AA, and there we discover the fatal nature of our situation. Then, and only then, do we become open-minded to conviction and as willing to listen as the dying can be. We stand ready to do anything which will lift the merciless obsession from us. All right, go to tradition 1. Tradition 1, our common welfare should first our common welfare should come first. Personal recovery depends upon AA unity. The unity of Alcoholics Anonymous is the most cherished quality of our society that our society has. Our lives of all to come depend squarely upon it. We stay whole on AA dies. Without unity, the heart of AA would cease to beat. Our world eradicates would no longer carry the life-giving grace of God. His gift to us would be spent aimlessly, but again, in their caves, alcoholics would reproach us and say, what a great thing AA might have been. Does this mean some will eventually ask that in AA the individual does count for much? Is he to be dominated by his group and swallowed up by it? We may certainly answer this question with a loud no. We believe there isn't a fellowship on earth which lavish more devoted care upon its individual members. Surely there is none which more jealously guards to the individual's rights to think, talk, and act as his wishes. No AA can compel another to do anything. Nobody can punish or expel. Our 12 steps to recover are suggestions. The 12 traditions which guide AA's unity contain not a single don't. They repeatedly say we ought, but never you must. To minimize all this library for the individual spells sure anarchy. Every newcomer, every friend who looks at AA for the first time is greatly puzzled. They are library virtually on license, yet they recognize at once that AA has an irresistible strength of purpose and action. How they act can such a crowd of anarchists function at all? How can they possibly place their common welfare first? What in heaven's name holds them together? Pass.
Those who look closely soon have the key to this strange paradox. The AA member has to conform to the principles of recovery. His life actually depends upon obedience to spiritual principles. If he deviates too far, the penalty is short and swift. He sickens and dies. At first he goes along because he must, but later he discovers a way of life he really wants to live. Moreover, he finds he cannot keep this priceless gift unless he gives it away. Neither he nor anybody else can survive unless he carries the AA message. The moment this 12-step work forms a group, another discovery is made. That most individuals cannot recover unless there is a group. Realizing dawns that he is but a small part in a great whole, that no personal sacrifice is too great for preservation of the fellowship. He learns that the clamor of desires and ambitions within him must be silenced whenever these could damage the group. It becomes plain that the group must survive or the individual will not pass.
Some at the outset how to best live and work together as groups became the prime person in the world. About us, we saw personalities destroying whole peoples. The struggle for wealth, power, and prestige, we tearily, humanly apart as never before. If strong people were stimulated in the search for purpose and for purpose and harmony, what was to become of our erotic band of alcoholics? As we had once struggled and prayed for the individual recovery, just as earnestly did we commence to cleanse for the principles through which AA itself might survive, or a veil of experience the structure of our society was hammered out. Countless times in as many cities and hamlets we reenacted the story of Eddie Rickenbacker, and his courage company, his courage company, when their plane crashed in the Pacific like us, they had suddenly found themselves and saved from death, but still floating upon a pervious sea. How well they saw that their common welfare came first. None might become selfish of water or bread. Each needed to consider the others, and in abiding faith, they knew they must find their real strength. And this they did find, and measure to transcend all defects of their fair craft, every test of uncertainty, pain, fear, and despair, and even the death of one. Thus has it been with AA. By faith and by works, we have been able to build upon the lessons of an incredible experience. They live today in the 12 traditions of Alcoholics Anonymous, which God willing should sustain us in unity for as long as He may need us. In Tradition 1, long form, each member of Alcoholics Anonymous is but a small part of a great whole. AA must continue to live, or most of us will surely die. Hence, our common welfare comes first, but individual welfare follows close afterward.
Very good.
All right.
Thanks for doing most of the reading.
Oh, yeah. No problem, brother. You go first, brother.
All right, Richie, alcoholic.
Hey, Richie.
I really like step one. You got to admit it's hard. I could not admit it. I could not admit that I was an alcoholic. It took a lot of years. I thought, I got this. I can handle it. I don't have, even though my life was completely out of control, unmanageable, I didn't see it. I did not see it. It took me going to jail.
Mm-hmm.
It took me going to jail, where I really had to start working on myself and looking at myself and accepting my behaviors. And that wasn't easy. I had a real hard time with it, because I was in denial, mostly in denial. Didn't even know it. It's like they talk about the onion, peeling the onion, little by little, you get to the core. And that's what I needed to do. Not the outside stuff, but the deep inner pain that I had buried for a long time. Didn't even know I did it. And I like the tradition as far as common welfare comes first.
Mm-hmm.
That's important. And it says, not the individual is still important, but individual amongst a community of others. And thank God, when I came to AA, people were talking about stuff that I never really ever wanted to talk about, and they made it easy for me. That's it for me.
Okay, cool. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Well,
Yeah.
Rob Alcoholic.
Hi, Rob.
Yeah, man. What's up? The first step was the biggest step, because I had to develop like 41 years of equity. You know what I mean? Going in and out of jail, and I really had a relatively easy life. You know what I'm saying? Although I do come from I don't come from obviously a rich family or anything like that. But as far as if I just stay focused and just really just stay on my grind, I'll be in a better situation than I am at 44. And it just sucks to admit that you've been your worst enemy, man. Because there's always somebody's. I label myself as the professional victim. That's what I was. It was always somebody's fault. It was always something or someone or somewhere or whatever. Never my fault. I walk on water next to that Jesus guy. You know, you couldn't tell me shit. What did I do? This was all a setup, you know? And but it was just like, when you understand that it's only you behind the wall and not your friends at the park and not your, you know what I'm saying, the guy that keep fucking begging you for shit all the time. No, it's just you. You know what I mean? Why are you the common denominator, not everybody else? You know? And then you gotta ask yourself, have you been your own worst enemy? And the answer is just yes. It was hard to come to that conclusion because, let's just face it, the head far up the ass, man. You know? Egotistical, just senselessly cocky for no reason. You just don't see the forest from the tree because you just don't want to. Everything had to go according to Robert Senator Bailey, you know? And I wanted people to be in a certain type of way. Now, if you ever think you're insane, think that you can control other people. You know? And you're going to find out the hard way that obviously you can't control other people. And the only person you can't control is yourself, you know? But Rich, I've been in a lot of toxic relationships, bro. Been with a lot of crazy ass women in and out of fucking insane asylums and shit like that. But you think the judge gave a shit about that? No. They cared about one thing and one thing only. My behavior. What are you doing? Why are you engaging? You're the guy. You're supposed to get disengaged. You know what I mean? All that shit doesn't come across my mind because we're supposed to be living in an equal society. So, hey, you know, everything's a wash. It doesn't work that way, man. You know? It's incumbent on you to be the bigger person. And it was incumbent on me to be the bigger person and admit that, God damn it, I have a problem. You know? That I have a serious problem. Not just with alcohol either. But alcohol just doesn't help. You know? And then when you wake up the next day, you don't know what the fuck happened. That's scary, man. You know? Alcohol took so much away from me. I saw my daughter for the first time since I held her as a baby last December for my mother's 80th birthday. So me finally surrendering and saying to myself, you know what? Fuck it, I'm an alcoholic. I need help. I need an act of God, and I need to go another direction in my life. And that's all it is. It's progress, not perfection. I fuck up constantly, you know? But my fuck-ups doesn't lead me to obviously catching cases, you know? Yeah, I'm pissed off at this record and shit like that. I didn't murder anybody or anything like that. But at the same time, this is how society looks at shit. You gotta pay, even when you don't want to pay. Even when everything is all over, I was granted early termination of probation. Don't give a fuck. You still got that label, you know, until, you know, it gets sealed. But when I first acknowledged that I had a problem and I took the second step, which doing something about it, I've been okay, you know. Mentally, I've been all right, you know. Not everything is where I want it to fucking be, but it doesn't matter because I'm not where I used to be. With that being said, brother, thank you. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.